I'm Dionne. I am connected to food. I live, breathe it every day. Grew up with my grandmother, who was an awesome chef, cook, farmer, and just, was always by her side in the kitchen. And I mean, those are like some of my best memories. And, which is why I'm doing what I do today.
The mission of this organization is to nourish a culture of authentic sharing, of deep listening, and of building relationship with each other, in the hope that that would lead us to a more transparent, more based on trust, more based on relationship of a food system.
My name is Dionne Knox. I'm owner of Zella Soulful Kitchen. We offer farm fresh food that feeds your soul. That is our goal. I started the business about 6 years ago out of Cocina, as a couple of you guys have heard. It's a nonprofit business incubator that helps women, primarily women, food-owned businesses grow. That's where I got my start, and catering, various venues. And recently I have opened a space within the Mandela Foods Co-op in West Oakland. That's my new venture. Super excited about that. I, grew up with my grandmother, who every Saturday morning would bake something, fresh. You'd wake up to bread baking in the oven. And that would get you up. No one had to wake you up. You'd be like, oh, she's baking something. Let me go see what she's baking. And then, of course, she would put me right to work, and I would, start off stirring a batter here and there. Everything was homemade. My grandmother, they grew up, they didn't have a lot. And so they pretty much, it's funny because you see people now doing this, but they ate off the land, and that's what they did. They used what they had, and that was it. There wasn't a lot of waste. But I grew up. I went to college. I had a different plan. I wanted to be an attorney. My roommate at the time was like, "I'm organizing my cousin's wedding, and I want you to cater it." And I was like, "What? Are you kidding? I'm not a caterer. I work in youth development." And she was like, "Are you crazy? Your food is amazing." And I'm like, "No, I'm not going to ruin her wedding. Are you kidding? This is like, one of the most important, times of her life. I'm not going to ruin it." She's like, "No, you're going to do it." I was really like, wow, I really began to see how people were impacted by food. I hadn't really thought about it, that much. And then I started to think about myself and how impacted I was, growing up. And I was like, wow, I didn't really realize how this really helped shape me, as a person. Yeah, and so that was where it all began for me. My transition from, youth development to, working in food. I wanted to still cater, but I wanted to offer people prepared foods, that they could, good prepared foods that they could come and get, and they can add it to something they already had at home, or they can come get their whole meal, from me, and go home and sit down and spend time with their family and eat it, like I did when I grew up. We came home, we sat at the table, and we all ate dinner together. And that's where, my mom, my grandparents heard about my day and the importance of it being fresh and even knowing where it came from. Going to the farmer's market, meeting the farmers and asking them, what's good. The market came out of a need for that community to have access to fresh food. There's absolutely nothing in that community but liquor stores. It's like inundated with liquor stores. And more importantly, I'm really happy to be in a space where I can prepare Southern food, in a healthier way. People come in and they're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's a quinoa salad. We've got some kale in there. We've got some roasted, butternut squash. I've never had that. Well, here, taste it, And so that's one of my goals is to literally bring people together around the table. I said my hopes are to, be able to encourage folks to come to the table. Once again, specifically families and young people, because I really feel there's a need for young people to be around older people who, are listening to them, and hearing what they have to say. And I think food is like a really good, meeting place. Come together, we can sit down, we can have a meal, talk about your day. It's kind of like a buffer. All of our breakfast items are grab and go, and we do our biscuit breakfast sandwiches. We make fresh every day, and we've got a little following now, and people are coming in looking for those sandwiches, and we make our own sausage. People, they come and they look and they're like excited, and they're like, this is just like a great start to my day. And I'm like, awesome, and I'm like, well, I'll see you tomorrow. They're like, see you tomorrow. It's fun. It's every day is different, and I love it. I love it. I'm like, who's gonna come in today? It's awesome. It's awesome.